We love ringing the trade bell. It sends a cold shiver up poor old Sam Edmund's spine.
Oh, jeez.
There are supporter groups just hanging on this, Sam, I have to tell you. They're our tribal council. I've tried to warm them up with who are you leaning towards in the final series, but what they really want to know is what on earth's going on.
Yeah.
Disappointing show today, Gerard. Just encouraging sad and pathetic people to insult Collingwood for 3 hours. That's not the intention. It might be where we end up. Right. I have... The trade bellers have been waiting. You haven't been here since Wednesday to do it. There is a queue.
Yeah. And this is a good thing because we need the morning family to get around us because they want to know what's going on. Heaven forbid, Gerard, I want to know what's going on.
Yes.
I have smashed the phones this morning. Do you know how many texts I've got back saying, not talking, sorry, can't talk for now, come back to me later. It's such an awkward spot in the player movement calendar because there's teams still involved. There's teams who'd love to go public with this that aren't involved, but because they're after players who are still alive in the AFL season. So it's an awkward time. We tread, well, the clubs and the player managers tread really warily this time of year.
Sam Edmund for Effective Freight Solutions, get started with us today. So you're well familiar with your categories.
Yes.
Don't trip into anything. Haven't heard that is perfectly okay. Stuff of fantasy is my favourite. That's my favourite stuff. All right. So from the bottom up.
Okay.
And from East Kalgoorlie, hot off the press, Tom Green to Richmond. And too good. Well done,
What do you mean hot off the press? It's been on the press for 24 months, I reckon.
I love our trade bell listeners.
Oh,
Righto, here we go. Harry Mackay to North Melbourne for pick 1 and Zurhar. Jay in Laylaw.
That has to be well and truly comfortably sitting in the realms of fantasy, absolute fantasy. But Carlton have stitched up Charlie Curnow. They are now starting the wheel in motion to re-sign Harry Mackay. I don't think Carlton, like Charlie, want to go into next year with Harry Mackay out of contract and those big offers really start to come like they did for Charlie. But can I put that in the fantasy box?
Yeah, absolutely. Sicily to Gold Coast for picks 5 and 7. 5 out of Adelaide.
Now, this is the same James Sicily that signed a 5-year deal in May of this year. I'm going to have to put him in the fantasy basket as well. Captaincy material, I would have thought at Hawthorn, tied at the club until 2027. Now, surely, Gerard, he's not being traded.
Heard a whisper, Sam Draper to Adelaide.
Now, I haven't heard that. I have not heard that. I'd almost put it in the fantasy realm. Sam Draper, surely we can't see him leaving Essendon.
Macca in Canberra. Callum and Tyler Brown to GWS is what I've heard.
Now, I haven't heard that, but you were alongside me when we asked Mark Anderson, the Collingwood CEO, about both Browns, and this was about a month or so ago, and it sounded positive. It sounded as though the Browns were going to re-sign at Collingwood, but since then, tumbleweeds. So we can only go on what we've been told, and it was sounding like they were going to recommit, and Collingwood were happy to have them recommit. Now, unless something's changed between then and now, I can't say. But I'll take it on as homework.
Lewis Mallikan to the Bulldogs from Jacko in Warrandyte.
Oh, I haven't heard that one, Jacko. All right, Lewis Mallikan, I'm writing him down as well.
Dylan from Richmond. He's not overselling this. Hearing slight rumours of Matt Crouch from the Crows wanting to move to Collingwood.
Yeah, now his papers were stamped, as we know, pretty publicly, weren't they, at Adelaide, when the coach, Matthew Nick, said you well and truly within your rights and allowed to look at your options. Now, I haven't been able to find a suitor in this time, Gerard, from a club. Now, I think if this comes to late, it will come together late. We're saying Collingwood, are we? Now, Collingwood have been linked to McStay, Bobby Hill, DeGoey we think will stay, Grundy potentially leaves. They're busy in the space as well. Matt Crouch coming in, I'm not sure, but I'm putting him alongside Lewis Mallikan as some work.
Electric from Wagga, so Electric selling this hard. Take it to the bank.
Oh, we like these.
Taranto is going to Richmond.
Yeah.
Very reliable source.
And I'd tend to agree with him as well. I think if you are to put your eggs in one basket, they are in the Richmond basket with Tim Taranto, who has already met with Adam Kingsley. Now, he said he wanted to do that before he made his next move. He has everything at his disposal now. He's got all the information he needs, Tim Taranto. He's got the 2 offers from the Giants. He's met with Collingwood. He's met with Richmond. Adam Kingsley at the moment, preparing for elimination final on Thursday night, is using his 1 day off this week, Gerard, to speak again to those Melbourne-based GWS players, the Tanner Bruins of the world, the Jacob Hopper and the Tim Tarantos. But I think if you're a betting person, you're saying he ends up at Punt Road, Tim Taranto.
Parrish will be the odd man out at Essendon, out of contract next year, and they are looking to move him before free agency.
Wow. So that's interesting. I haven't heard that. I can't see moves of this magnitude being made at a coachless club. They're hard to envisage, aren't they? And that's why perhaps Essendon are going to find it hard to attract players. They've missed a few targets already this season. I haven't heard Darcy Parish, Jared. Haven't heard that.
Tom Mitchell to St Kilda. That's Nath the Builder.
Yeah, there's always a lot of conjecture around this player. There was 12 months ago. There was 24 months ago. Links to Brisbane. Last year, potentially on the move as well, when Sam Mitchell, the coach, really jumped on the tools himself to try to engineer some movement with his playing group. There's smoke, but at the moment I can't see any fire in Tom Mitchell moving.
1, 2, 3. 4-legger. I don't know whether all of these are linked. Oh, yeah, they are linked. Blake Acres to Carlton. I feel like that's Trade Bell. I feel like that was ours from a correspondent. Griffin Logue to Sydney. Logan McDonald to Fremantle. Jesse Motlop to Fremantle.
I can't see Logan McDonald going anywhere. He's just re-signed as well. And Jesse Motlop, I can't see going anywhere out of Carlton either. I mean, the Blues are interesting, aren't they? Because we said mid-year that they were going to prioritise the draft after stepping away from that, in the free agency space. They've been really active in the trade space as well. So if they were going to be involved in a free agency acquisition, it was always going to be at the lower end. And this is where Blake Acres fits, of course. They did ask the question, I'm told, of Luke Bruce, but that might have been as far as it goes for Bruce too. I reckon earlier on in the year might have been a chance to move on. I reckon the Hawks have done a 180 here. I think they'd love him to stay. He had a great year. I think he might stay on an extension. They're looking to extend Luke Bruce. We'll get to Jack Gunston in a moment. But as far as Blake Acres goes, he would be that lower end acquisition that we speak of at Carlton. And we did speak about him last week, Blake Acres, effectively being asked to take a pay cut at Fremantle from the contract that he signed when he came across from St Kilda, ironically after probably the best season of his career. But this is where we get to Fremantle and the risk they might be taking. With someone like Luke Jackson coming in, they'd want to be careful, wouldn't they? If Logue leaves, if Acres leaves, if Lobb leaves, how far do they go? Now, I'm not a list management expert when it comes to Fremantle and what they got coming through. The next tier talent might be highly promising. But it is a bold list management move to lose those players to get Jack Gunston to get Luke Jackson coming in the other way.
So Jack Gunston is on your mind. I've got him here to Melbourne. I've got him to Carlton. I've got him to the Lions.
I think we can forget Carlton for Jack Gunston, but certainly Brisbane have asked the question. And there's been a link between these two, I reckon, going back to this time last year when perhaps Jack Gunston back issues perhaps didn't have him on the radar. A few clubs were wary about it. I think there were conversations at that time between Jack Gunston's management and Brisbane, but now well and truly back on again. Brisbane know they're going to be losing Dan McStay. Jack Gunston would be the ideal replacement, I would have thought, whether it's a 2-year deal. I mean, if I'm Hawthorn, though, said before with Guarantee, I'm fighting for him to stay. I think you want to keep Jack Gunston there, but the decision is the players to make.
It's hard to keep up with what comes through here. So Tony in Richmond wants to add an additional layer to Mitchell to St Kilda. St Kilda have had numerous meetings with Tom Mitchell's management. I know because they've been meeting at my local cafe.
Oh,
this is the layer of detail we rely on you for.
Wow. That's a good take it to the bank. They're meeting at my cafe.
I love
That's a new layer. There's a new segment in that. Sightings.
Mitch Robinson to Essendon. It's a big chance to happen.
Yeah, so Mitch Robinson, 33, unrestricted free agent. I think it's fair to say, as we discussed, I think last week or the week prior, facing a really uncertain future at Brisbane. Credit to him for getting himself back in the side in the second half of the season. They had a few COVID issues and he seized his chance. Would he have a home at another club? 33 years of age, aggressive, towards the back end of his career, of course, but maybe comes across through a bit of leadership and a bit of grunt. And I think he's keen to keep going as well.
I'm sure that was Dermot Brereton's idea with us a couple of weeks ago on Crunch Time.
I think you're right. Yep.
Tom Deconing to Geelong.
Oh. Well, Tom Deconing at Carlton might be a watch. Now, he's contracted for next year, but I just that might be one that we need to revisit in the early stages of next year to see where things are at from a Carlton perspective and how much rival interest there might be in Tom Deconing, who it got a bit messy at the selection table, didn't it, this year? But he is a promising talent. Hey, just a new name as well. Now, this is on another tier of player acquisition without disrespecting him totally, Jared. Josh Corbett up at the Gold Coast Suns, now attracting some real interest. He's out of contract. He's 190 centimetre goal-kicking forward. He's in his mid-20s, 36 game in 4 years at the Suns. He kicked the second most goals at the Suns last year from only 16 games. He's had a very interested club watching him in the VFL. Now, last weekend, this club, I'm told, went up to watch him in the VFL. He took 17 marks. He kicked 4 goals for, and he had 25 possessions.
Oh, good audition.
So not bad. If they're watching you, this is what you want to churn out. Now, the Suns are saying we've got a few similar types. You're welcome to look around at your options. You might get squeezed out with their list getting peeled back a bit. So, look, maybe if Brisbane don't land Gunston, Corbett could be a good pick up for them down the road. Melbourne as well. Freo after losing Rory Lobb. So we'll see what happens with Josh Corbett, who mid-20s might be a bargain pickup for a club.
This is the third time this one has come through in various guises. Bulldogs talking to Tom Barrass's manager.
Tom Barrass comes up a lot as well. Best and fairest winner at West Coast. Now, I reckon Sydney inquired and came pretty hard for him. If it wasn't last year, it was the year before. Was it the Western Bulldogs that you just linked to Tom Barrass there? Well, I'm not sure. Given Liam Jones is coming in, Rory Lobb's coming in, they can't bring them all in. I think he stays, but I haven't heard it, to be honest, to that club.
What else have I got for you?
Boy, oh boy, they're coming thick and
They
fast.
are.
Ollie Henry's one that I want to check out now.
Yes, he's bobbed up here.
He's been an ongoing conversation with us here at Trade Bell, given he remains unsigned. And as we said, the contract offer that came from Collingwood, the management of Ollie Henry perhaps wanted a bit more, that they thought that wasn't befitting of the talent and the promise that he has showed in the games that he has played. He really has caught the eye. But he's fallen out of favour, hasn't he, this year? He's down the pecking order a bit. And Collingwood have got players in their best 22, the Ginivans of the world, McCreary's of the world, who are perhaps on less. So I don't think Collingwood are going to budge on the offer. So perhaps the decision is Ollie Henry's to make. Do I stay at Collingwood on less than what I could get elsewhere? And the level of interest in Ollie Henry, we know he's got a sibling at Geelong. We can't link Geelong to every single player, Gerard, although we do try. It's the biggest catchment area in football down there, isn't it? Out past Geelong. So Ollie Henry is definitely a watch for Collingwood supporters.
Now, do you want to take this one for today or for tomorrow? Trent from Altona. I'm hearing Dunkley to the Lions.
Yeah, I'm glad we can do this now, if we've got time, which we probably don't. Nothing to trumpet at the Dogs. Now, I've been of a mind he would stay, and I've said I was really confident he would stay because there's been negotiations between the two clubs, albeit very slow negotiations, but both parties were talking. I reckon I've lost faith. I think Josh Dunkley might be leaving the Western Bulldogs. Now, that's just a guess, Gerard, an educated guess, but Brisbane absolutely in the frame. Now, Port Adelaide have been linked as well, but if I'm saying he's going, I think Brisbane loom is the likely destination. His sister plays netball up there. He's got a link everywhere, mind you. It's gone this long. I'm really worried about it. I've come full circle on Josh Dunkley. Why hasn't he signed, Gerard? I'm worried for the Dogs. They really want to keep him. I think he might be on the move.
If we haven't done justice to what you've texted through, email it, whateley@sen.com.au, and we'll ring the trade bell again at 10:40 tomorrow. I can't share with you how many texts come through. Some of it wishful thinking, some of it based on dodgy information, and some of it on first-hand accounts. We love our trade bellers.
Cafe sightings, that's a new level for me. I love it.
Excellent. Good on you, Sam.